In the previous chapter, we took a look at my historical resources that I use as inspiration. In this one, we're finally breaking ground on Womtham in Greyhawk. Grab yourself a drink, get comfortable, and let's do this together. Let's talk about some other things I now need to think about. First and foremost, I'm actually going to potentially have option 2. So let's hide option 1 here. So if we didn't do the... by the way, I think a river drawn like this has an interesting jaunt to it, right? The alternative would be this, which a lot of people do. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done this myself, but I kind of like the jaunty look, right? The other part of this too is if we actually take a look at the city of Womtham area, you see how the river is doing this and the road is doing this. I like to orientate my maps the same on the cardinal directions as our maps, like our actual regional map. So I kind of want to emulate this. It's got the southwest to northeast river flow. It's got our sort of east to west towards northwest of the major river. Womtham proper being on the east side of the river. I want to capture that. I want you to look at my map and feel like the orientation is correct. So if we do this, it doesn't feel correct now. I mean, north in this particular instance would be... I mean, this would be doing kind of like this. So our north is kind of up there. And... I honestly, I don't like putting my compass roses on odd angles like this. You totally can. There's nothing wrong with it. So you could totally do this. It starts to break my brain a little bit doing that. So I don't want to do that. That's my option 2 there. Option 3, let's get this labeled up. Option 3 would be kind of a north-south thing, See, I'm using a whole north-south cardinal directions, and this type of thing. But I think we're just sort of playing with the rotation of the actual map at this point. It's not serving us a purpose. So let's just talk about actual shapes instead. So if we're agreed that we're going to do this kind of like jaunty type of look here, do we put more on each side of the river? That's a possibility. Do we actually really come out like this? I'm not a huge fan of that one. We can also... I want to stick with the main population on this side. Let's just assume that this is what we're doing, kind of like here. I like the idea of a smaller bit on this side, quite a bit, and we'll kind of like have our... Still undecided about the bridge. I'm going to talk to the client about that, but I also like the idea of this bridge and actually having some things built on it, so something like this, kind of like back towards our original sketch. But do we perhaps, narrow off maybe the heart of the city was more like this when it first sort of grew? And maybe we'll even have like a hill or something here with a fortress on it. Maybe this is where it all started. We're gonna talk about that in a moment. And yeah, maybe we even, bring in like a little bit of a harbor area here. Man-made harbour. So we'll explore this later, maybe with some loading cranes, etc. That could be fun. That would make it feel very industrious as a city. But what if we actually played with the river a little bit here? What if we kind of like just widen her up just a touch? See, they wouldn't build the bridge on the widest part, but what if there was actually an island on the center? Couldn't that be fun? In which case, the bridge would actually span the island. I'm thinking now, because my OCD brain, I kind of want it to be more like this, but for an angle, and then like it continues up there like so. And for an interesting shape, I think the population would follow the road a little bit, so maybe it's more like this. You know, I'm actually gonna pull away from such a wide. I think farm. Taking inspiration from Bath, right? So this kind of follows the road a little bit more. There would definitely be some docks and the likes here, still. Major dock works along here. This starts to have a very interesting shape, don't you think? We could have some fortification-like things going on then here on the island. Maybe on the other side. Maybe light fortification. This is, I believe, a pretty it is a strategic location in the world. So we'll give it some defensive capabilities that I think would need to be quite controlled. So, and by the what I mean by controlled is that these walls are very expensive. Towers are expensive. Maintenance is expensive. So you're not going to get them building like this massive, huge thing, particularly on the West Bank, unless they need to. But if they need to control the access to the bridge, well, the fortifications are going to be focused around the bridge. They also do have this wonderful way of controlling the main river traffic here, and so on. Now, one of the maps that I have had for this, and I've only seen 2 other maps for Womtham, and this is one of them. Womtham. When I look at what other people have done, I need to pay attention to it from the perspective of that I consider to be canon at that point, right? This particular rendition by Robert, I don't think is necessarily something that is locked in stone in this particular instance, right? I think this is his version of Womtham. I have seen a single other version that was a computer-generated version that just I'm not even going to bother showing you. But that said, I don't want to completely deviate from what Robert has done here. I don't necessarily agree with the way the walls are laid out. I don't agree with the dock. In fact, this has a little bit of a Bath feel to it. Doesn't narrow side up against there. But I don't agree with the general layout, and the population feels too thin. But what if we pay homage to Robert in this, and we capture some of the spirit of what he has done here as a tip of the hat? So that, I think, is what we're going to do. So if we're taking inspiration, or we want to doff the cap to Robert, then we could use this inner city area where, you know, he actually has kind of like the beginning city, kind of like, you know, well, a little bit like I had drawn out here, but what if, and he kind of then does this sort of thing, and I'm not going to do these inner walls and stuff that exactly like he's got, but what if this was our inner city? What if this hill kind of was actually more like here? And I think if you got a hill, I mean, they're probably going to be sort of fortified up on the hill, and I think we're going to do that. We'll probably have some kind of inner keep here. Okay, we'll come back to that in a future sort of episode. A sort of little road is going to be coming down. So let's take Robert's sort of map, sort of concept, and he's got this type of thing. Well, let's have his kind of be an extension of this. And this is kind of then how the city expanded. And this is going to join up with this. In fact, maybe even the main road comes right through here then eventually. So we're going to capture Robert Lee's original kind of in this area, and we'll call it the old city, you know, and we'll even do docks where he had the docks, but I'm just going to do different shapes. And so we'll end up with something like this, and this will be like Robert City right here. So this was kind of the original. It expanded out to this, and then kind of like just grew. The city started to sort of grow from there. I'm thinking something like that. Now if we take a look at Cologne here, you'll see that we've got this original growth. We've got this suburb right here. We've got the original walls right here. And then we've got, it starts to expand out. You see how they've done this, and they've done this, and even a little bit off the back here. Then eventually out again. So we've literally got 1, 2, 3 kind of broad phases. Well, that's kind of what we're going to do here. You know, we've got this inner city, and I think, you know, logically they wouldn't necessarily go right up against the river, but, you know, we're going to have this inner city here. This is the original inner city. These are our suburbs right here, the original suburbs. Then it kind of like sort of grew out a little bit, leveraging the original walls. And then, you know, they come out again to something like this. I think we've got the nugget of a shape there. We could also, honestly, like, we could take this. Let's duplicate the layer here. Let's turn that one off. We could reduce this down. Maybe even to, what if they had some kind of island here? Maybe an island here. Actually, I think the river is flowing the other direction. So I'm just going to pull this out a little thinner that direction. So we could have something here as well. Maybe another island. I don't want to get sort of too carried away. But maybe another island like that. There. Now the question is if water... It's meant to be a slow-flowing river, but if I consider water flow, and I think it's flowing this direction, if memory recalls, would the water turbulence here be a bad place for this? In which case, would it be more logical to sort of bring that in here? I love the whole idea of like this area where there are trains and such, you know. We could have this weird like sort of power sort of center there too. But then maybe I didn't need to move it. Maybe up here would be like a nice balance. Or even down here. Maybe this is too concentrated now. But these are the things I think we're going to sort of consider. So what do you think? So for the general layout, do you think that this could make a good Womtham? Let me know down in the comments below. Next up, we are going to be drawing the streets, the main neighborhoods. We're going to be deciding where things are located in the city, such as a temple district, any parks, gardens, major sort of where is our main workshops going on, where are our main docks and warehouses, etc, etc, etc. But this, I think, is where we're going to start this particular project. You're seeing it here first. If you've enjoyed this particular episode and you're looking forward to seeing future ones, please consider hitting me up with a like and a follow. Remember, on my Patreon, I will be giving you a full coloured copy of this and future Greyhawk cities, plus secret behind the scenes explanation for what I'm doing and why. So if you would like to actually be part of that discussion, please check out my Patreon. Until the next episode, love you all. I'll see you on the flip side.